that. The history of sugar, produced from cane and beet juice, 1689. By 1800, it was 12 pounds per person is how much sugar we consume. You can think of this as, when was Little House on the Prairie? How long of you would know? 1800s? Early 1800s?
Oh, it was around the Civil War, right after the Civil War.
Okay, so it'd be around the time. It'd be around 1800. So, if you think of back then, when they'd bake, they made sweets and they baked and they made things like that, but it was a treat and it was once in a while. So the sugar consumption was 12 pounds per person. Anyone have an idea of what it is today that doesn't know or hasn't seen this before? 120 a year.
I'd say a couple hundred a year.
Couple hundred. Anyone else?
400.
400. Anyone else?
That's me.
This is 2006, 156 pounds per sugar. Now what you have to understand about this, though, is that this is average. So some people who are trying to be really good still eating 12 pounds per person. That means there's other people eating 400. And I actually did the math on that a little bit just so I could help visualize it in my brain. If you take a pound of sugar, you know what a 1 pound thing of cane sugar looks like, right? We've all seen that. That's over a quarter pound of that, a quarter of that bag per day is how much sugar that is, average. And what you have to understand, I think what's critically important to understand, is it's a 100% completely nutrient void food. It's not even a food. You can't even call it a food. There's not one drop of nutrition in sugar. Not one. Not one vitamin, not one mineral, not one enzyme, nothing. Same with cigarettes, same with alcohol, but we do it anyway. So.
And you would think it comes from cane and beet. You would think it comes from a plant.
Right.
Something.
Right. And if you do pure cane sugar or beet juice or things like that, yeah, you're going to get some minerals, absolutely. But for sake of the purpose of this class, yeah, it's not worth it. And we will go over some alternatives. Diabetes, coronary heart disease, hypoglycemia, you could definitely throw cancer on that list too. Increased exponentially over the last 50 years. I mean, every disease of affluence that we're getting is continuing to increase. And I think this is the main reason. Diabetes statistics, up to 20% for people 59 and higher. I mean, that's pretty scary. So, the many names of sugar. The last one, sucanat, don't ask me what that is. I have no idea what that is. If anyone knows, you can tell me. One thing I would add to the healthier sugars is palm sugar. It's not on here. Palm sugar actually comes from a palm tree. Has a much higher nutrient content because the roots of the palm go pretty deep. So it has a lot of, just like cane sugar, for example, it's a very water-based crop. So there's very little nutrition in sugarcane because it basically needs to be flooded year-round. So it doesn't dig deep roots. It doesn't go after minerals. Palm sugar, on the other hand, which isn't on this list, but I would write down. It's something I carry in my store for people that do want to have sugar and bake. I mean, we're going to bake things. The holidays are coming up. We're going to make treats. We're going to make muffins. We're going to, but there's alternatives. There's good things you can use instead of white sugar.
What about xylitol?
Xylitol's okay. The problem I have with xylitol is that it's from corn, and 99% of corn is genetically modified. It's Monsanto. Yeah, it's one of these giant factory farmed crops, and so I just don't trust it.
Downing a bottle of xylitol.
It's like man-made or
It's not man-made, but it's just, well, I
it's
guess
not in its natural
genetically
state.
modified. No, not at all.
Right.
You're messing with God's design. It's not
That's my
natural.
rule of thumb.
Yeah.
My body knows what to do with something in its natural state.
Right, exactly. Yep, and that's the way you want to look at it. Definitely.
One question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between date sugar and palm sugar?
It would depend on the tree that it comes from. Date sugar would obviously be from a date palm. Some palm sugar is actually from coconut. So it could be from like a coconut palm. And so it depends on the tree that it's from. But dates is a good choice. Yeah.
I heard somewhere with agave nectar, it's the next high fructose corn syrup.
Okay. Here's the deal on agave.
Oh, no.
Here's the deal on agave. If you buy agave pretty much at any store, and the easiest way to know is when you look at it, it's brown. Okay, agave out of the plant is not brown, it's clear. Okay, so if you're buying brown agave, that means it's been heated. And as soon as you heat it, the glycemic index goes through the roof and actually has a higher sugar content than high fructose corn syrup. So if you're going to eat, if you're going to eat agave, you want clear agave, like the agave I have in my store. Clear
How do you know
agave.
that hasn't been cut with corn syrup though?
You got to know your source. You got to know the company. Yeah, there's a lot of shady stuff going on out there.
Yeah.
You got to know. That's like with my store. It's, I know where everything comes from. I know the source of everything. I know the people that own it. It's very important to me. Yeah, because it's kind of a buyer beware situation going on out there. So you want clear raw agave. Agave is just like anything else. It's still straight sugar. Agave is still straight sugar. So you still have to do it in moderation. Okay.
Can I ask you stevia?
Yes.
I've seen a couple different kinds of stevia. One that is kind of a brownish greenish, that's supposedly just like the crushed earth.
Right.
And then others that are white.
Right. Okay, so stevia as a plant, if you've ever seen it grown, is a green plant. Okay? So if you eat the leaves, man, they're super sweet. They're awesome. They're great just to chew on. Throw them in tea, whatever. But it's a green plant. Okay? So a true stevia is going to be green. Okay? Now, a lot of people don't like the green stevia because it has a little bit of an aftertaste. The reason it has a little bit of an aftertaste is because of the high chromium content, which is a critical mineral for anybody who's diabetic and needs to get blood sugar out of their body. So there's a lot of benefits to stevia besides just the fact that it's a natural sugar replacement. It also has a high chromium content. But because of that aftertaste, they process stevia into white stevia, which doesn't have the aftertaste. Not pure natural stevia in its whole form, but still a heck of a lot better than sugar. It's, there's still no sugar, so it's still fine. Yeah. Does that explain that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then honey, I just want to make a mention of this, because just like we were talking about with agave, this is to me one of the best foods on the planet. Pure raw honey. Next to algae, I think it's the most nutritious thing you can put in your body. But as soon as they process it, as soon as they heat it, as soon as you don't know your source and you know that they feed the bees high fructose corn syrup so they produce faster, and they use gases on the bees, then all of a sudden it's not healthy anymore. So the reason honey's gotten such a bad rap is because if you go buy a honey in the store by a big company, it's going to be junk. And it's going to shoot your blood sugar through the roof. But a good raw honey, like from a good company or from a local source, does not have an overly stimulating effect on your blood sugar levels. It has more of a slow, controlled release into your blood sugar.
So if you had to pick one of those to substitute of all the good ones, you would say the raw honey is the best choice?
I would say raw honey is the best. Well, stevia, because it's not sugar. But raw honey, absolutely. If I was to pick one of those, it'd be raw honey. And then coconut too. I don't know where the heck you find coconut nectar, but I eat lots of coconut. I'm a big fan of coconut. We'll get into fats a little bit.
And is the lactose up there? Is that anything to do with milk?
Milk sugar, yeah, that's the lactose. No. So you have to be careful of that too
So
because,
if we're drinking skim milk, it's just like sugar.
well, that's a whole other can of worms. I always tell people that if you're going to drink milk, your best option is raw goat's milk. That's what I drink.
What about almond milk?
And it tastes like milk. Doesn't taste nasty. And after that, if you're going to buy milk from the grocery store, drink whole milk.
What about almond milk?
Almond milk is great, yeah. Almond milk, hemp milk, hazelnut milk, coconut milk.
Almond milk tastes great.
Yeah.
Why drink almond milk?
Organic.
Not a fan of soy. Soy. The problem with soy, hang on, I think we're going to get off subject. But the problem with soy is just like corn and wheat, heavily genetically modified in everything. Okay, the plant has been completely destroyed. That's the problem with soy. Soy is a goitrogen. It'll block your thyroid production. It's the fastest way to thyroid imbalance. It's the fastest way to excess estrogen levels and breast cancers. Research is out on that. Okay, so any other questions on like sugar alternatives?
Say that again?
Any other questions on sugars and types of sugar?